Hey there guys, in today's video I am going to show you how to build a super easy foraging feeder. I am actually building this for my dog, but you could modify this very easily to be for just about any kind of dog, cat, small mammal, parrot. The options really are limitless. So if you guys want to see how I built this and how I enriched my animal with it, you want to make sure to stick around because that's going to be coming up right after this. Guys, this is Jack over at Hi Redbird, where I am tirelessly working to find new ways to make the keeping of exotic animals and pets more exciting, more affordable, and ultimately more enjoyable. One of my favorite ways to provide enrichment for my animals is puzzle feeders. Those are going to be objects that animals have to use their mental acuity, their physical prowess to try to figure out a way to get food. And the puzzles don't have to be that difficult to provide a great deal of enrichment. Now, one of the problems that I have with my dog, Gunner, is that he is incredibly destructive. I have not found an over-the-counter, off-the-shelf puzzle feeder that I can give him without running the risk of him turning it into small, destructed bits. So I wanted to go ahead and build him one that is a lot sturdier. So I am going to be showing you guys how I built this PVC puzzle feeder utilizing heavy-duty PVC and fittings. Now, this puzzle feeder is relatively straightforward. You guys can see it opens up on the top. I can load food inside of it. It is 1.5-inch PVC, so it does hold quite a bit of food. And then it has a hole that is going to be right there. When it is on the ground, all the animal does, they can roll it, they can pick it up and shake it. Any kind of movement is going to cause the food to fall out. So you guys can actually control the complexity of a puzzle feeder like this by putting in more holes. That's going to give you more options for the food to fall out. And if the food is much smaller than the holes, it's going to be more likely to fall out as well. In this instance, Gunner's pretty good at figuring out how to get to his food, so I'm only using one hole on the puzzle feeder, and it is only a little bit bigger than the bites of dry dog food that are going to be coming out of this PVC foraging toy. So it should be a little bit of a challenge for him, or at least keep him busy for more than a few minutes. Now, there are quite a few different animals that this could work for. This could work for all manner of dogs, cats, any kind of small mammal, really. Things like parrots, if you have things like chickens, turkeys, guinea fowl, all of those animals could benefit from something like this. So I do love to hear from you guys. If you are planning on making something like this for your animals, leave a comment down in the comment section down below, letting me and everyone else know what kind of animal you are planning on building this for. I do make a ton of different foraging toys, enrichment opportunities, DIY tutorial videos that'll be found on the Hi Redbird channel. So if you guys like this tutorial for this foraging toy, make sure that you click the thumbs up button on this video and subscribe to the Hi Redbird channel if you haven't already, if that's something you would want to see. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and jump right into how we are going to be putting this foraging toy together. All right, guys, now we are just going to need a few basic materials to put this project together. For the purpose of this project, I am going to be using 1.5-inch PVC pipe. I am using Schedule 40 PVC pipe, which should be a good thickness of pipe for the animal that I am building this for. It works well for small mammals, for most parrots. Obviously, if you need something that's even more heavy duty, you could upgrade this to Schedule 80 PVC pipe. That schedule number is going to refer to the thickness of the pipe, but on the Schedule 40, you can see we're working with a pretty thick piece of pipe, so that should be pretty good. I have a 10-inch section here. Now with the 1.5-inch pipe, that's obviously going to be a lot more than some of the other PVC projects that I've shown you guys using a much smaller diameter pipe. So go ahead and look and see what is available. Usually they will have sections of 1.5 to 2.5 inch pipe that are going to be in 1 to 2 foot increments. So just use what you need, but you're not going to need very much PVC for this project. Again, I'm using 10 inches here. Use a length that is appropriate for the animal you are building this for. We are going to need a couple of fittings. Now I am using 1.5 inch fittings, but again, if you change this, if you modify the pipe, just make sure that you get the corresponding fittings. So I'm going to need a 1.5 inch slip end cap. I am going to need a 1.5 inch slip to threaded female adapter. So that's basically going to be this piece right here. It is designed that it can slip on right there, and then it'll give me this threaded piece here where I can then use a threaded clean out cap to screw on. So the adapter and then the clean out cap are going to be pieces that you need. But I do recommend for you guys, I have noticed that a lot of these parts might have multiple names. Test fit these things when you are at the store. Go ahead and figure out what is working, what's not working, because sometimes the clean out cap might be designed for a different adapter or a different fitting. So just go ahead and make sure that these parts are going to work for you. I am going to be using a little bit of a PVC cement to secure this together, because again, I want this to be fairly heavy duty. And then I am going to need a drill and a drill bit. You guys can see I'm using a fairly large drill bit for this application. I want to make sure that the food items that are going to be inside of this tube are going to be able to pass through the holes that I put in here. So definitely make sure that you think about what sort of rewards you would want to have in this puzzle feeder for your animal, and that you have a drill bit that will work accordingly. But those are all the parts we need to put this together. So let's go ahead and jump into putting this together. Now, when it comes to putting this together, first things first, I am going to use some paper towels to just protect the surface that I'm working on. I don't want to run the risk of getting any PVC glue on the table because I will get yelled at if I do that, and I want to avoid that. Now I'm going to use the PVC glue. I just use it on the inside of the fittings. The instructions on the container usually tell you to use it on the inside of the fitting and the outside of the pipe, but I like to only use it on the inside of the fitting because when I push that pipe into that fitting, it ensures that there will not be a bead of PVC cement that forms on the outside. That's something that my animal won't be able to chew on. Now, when I do the threaded piece, I'm going to make sure that I take the cap off, and I want to be very, very careful with how I am applying that PVC cement, because obviously if I left that cap on and glued it, there was a chance I could glue it on, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to get any PVC cement on the threads because that will inhibit that cap screwing on in the future. Even if it doesn't glue the cap on, it will mean that it can't be secured as tightly as possible. Now I'm going to go through and I'm going to drill a hole. And since I'm using a pretty large drill bit to drill this hole, first things first, I'm going to start by drilling a smaller little divot using a smaller drill bit. One thing you guys will notice whenever you're drilling into PVC pipe, because it is rounded, it can be a little bit tricky. So just make sure that you go slow, be safe. It's definitely not going to be a fun or efficient use of your time if you end up slipping off of that PVC pipe. Obviously, I don't want to damage the dining room table that I am working on, but I also wouldn't want that drill bit to go into something like my hand. So just take your time, go slow. You'll definitely go through it. I'm only going to the interior of the pipe. I don't want to go all the way through both sides of the PVC. Now I'm going to go ahead and use that drill bit, use the forward and back function just to make sure that I can clear as much of those small pieces of PVC pipe out of this foraging feeder as possible. You'll see that I rotate that drill a little bit just to try to get anything that might still be sticking to the edge of that hole. I'll also go through and I will change out the drill bit. I'll go through with the smaller drill bit because again, I have a little bit more dexterity with that. But you could obviously use something like a file or a rasp, anything to just try to get as many of those small pieces of plastic out as possible. Now I'm going to go through, I'm going to smooth this as well as I can. Once I am done with that, I am actually going to go through and I am going to use a baby bottle brush to go ahead and get off as many of those small bits of plastic as I can. You guys will see I'll use the pad of my finger to do that. I definitely want to go ahead and shake any of that excess plastic out. You can see a good amount still comes out, but I want to make sure that I eliminate all of that. I don't want my animal to ingest that plastic. Now all I need to do is let this cure. I'm going to give this at least 24 hours. I would recommend leaving it until you definitely smell no odor and you can be sure that it is safe for your animal. In the meantime, you can clean up the mess you made. All right, guys, now once you have waited enough time for your feeder to dry, you can go ahead, you can attach the cap back on, but the way to make it really fun is to actually fill it with food first. So I am going to be using just some pelleted food. You guys can use whatever you want, and you can fill it as much as you want. But all it takes is a little bit of that food. Then you just attach the top, screw it on, hand tighten it. You don't need to make it ridiculous. If you make it ridiculously tight, you're gonna have a really hard time taking it off as well. But if you have a dog that you know you're going to need that for, or some other animal that you know that this needs to be super secure, you may just want to plan on using pliers or a wrench to attach that really well and then take it off every time that you need to take it off. The great thing about this, it is super, super easy to use, super, super easy to clean. A basic bottle brush that you can find with baby bottles and things like that is going to be your best friend in terms of cleaning this. Now, I didn't mention it before filling this, but I did do it. I just didn't talk to you guys about it. After you've gone ahead and made sure everything is glued together really well, go ahead, give it a good wash with just some warm soapy water. Again, use that baby bottle brush to clean the inside. If there's any of those small bits of PVC that are left on the inside, that'll take care of that. And then just make sure that it's really clean and then nice and dry before you load it. But then you can go ahead and you can give that to the animal that you are enriching, and I can almost guarantee that they are going to love it. So Gunner is super excited about this foraging toy, and I hope you guys are as well. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I certainly hope that I get to see you guys next time. I do need to say thank you to my Patreon patrons for helping to make these videos possible. You can find out more by visiting Hi Redbird on Patreon or clicking the link in the description section down below if you would like more information. Thanks!